Back on Adapt and Respond with me, RJ Young. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe and hit that like button and answer the question in the comments below. Do you think that just a simple tweak is going to turn Georgia back into the kind of team that can win the national championship? Because it feels like that's what you're doing in Kirby Smart's 10th year at Georgia. You're going to have an opportunity, right? It's going to be a lot of fun if they can tweak it here and there. One of the things that I find fascinating about last year for Georgia is who they took losses to and where they ended up anyway. Okay. So they took a loss to an Alabama team that turned out to win 9 games and showed itself to be really good when it was good and really bad when it wasn't. And that's after Carson Beck had been really terrible in the second half of games, or excuse me, the first half of games. He just wasn't always there. And needing something like balance out of your quarterback position, yeah, you got to have that at Georgia. But that's one thing. Will Gunnar Stockton be better or worse? We don't know yet. We think that he'll be better. But given the experience that Beck has, I think you would have much rather been able like to have kept him and told Gunnar to wait one more year rather than watch him go into the transfer portal out at Miami. But it is what it is at this point. Gunnar Stockton's the guy. They took a loss to Ole Miss that did not seem like the kind that would come to Georgia's door in years past, right? But they were able to beat teams like Texas twice. They had been on the ropes against Florida. What happens? What's the denominator here? What is working and what's not working for Georgia? And it was really difficult to identify this in the heat of the season. But at one point, you're talking about 4 of the 7 best offensive linemen at Georgia are injured, can't play. And at another point, you're talking about your healthy tailbacks being true freshmen and walk-ons, which Georgia still pretty damn good, right? It just means you don't have a lot of experience at those positions. This year, you're still big across the offensive line. You go 6'4", 310 plus, and you'll have 230 pounds at tailback, right? You'll have guys that can do it. And it's about, can you keep those men healthy long enough for the season to go? And that is going to be, I think, a small change that reaps a huge amount of benefit offensively, because you'll notice that the Georgia defense doesn't really show signs of fatigue and hasn't since Kirby Smart took over as head coach. One of the major reasons that is simple. They rotate often. That defensive line is constantly rotating in. Their linebackers rotate at the edge positions. It's really difficult to game plan for a defensive line that can go 8 or 9 deep anytime they want, right? That has fresh edge rusher after fresh edge rusher after fresh edge rusher, 5 stars at most of these positions, 4 stars, you can expect it. So not only are they healthy and fresh, they're talented. So you get to see a guy like Jalen Walker absolutely positively go to work on that Texas offensive line in a way that nobody had ever been able to see before. So on critical downs and distances, you are able to have him on the field getting a blow here and there. It's one of the reasons why teams started going fast. You want to try to catch your opponent, if you're an offensive play caller, in an alignment, but also in a personnel that they have a difficult time defending in. I think we first look at what alignment they come out in. Could we exploit it over and over again? Let's say you know that you can beat them to the field side with a certain play because they're weak at this linebacker position and their safety just can't run with your slot. Perhaps that's it, right? So you're going to try to hit that as often as you can. But the thing that Georgia's also been good at is conditioning guys to be able to play entire games if they must. So those short bouts of needing to go, 4, 5, 6 plays without a break, they're built for that too. The small change, I think, is going to be quite simple for Georgia. Stay healthy. Keep your veterans on the field. That's it. Now, for Georgia, that's going to be, let's see how good you are taking care of your offensive line, and let's see how deep the running back room is. I'm kind of curious because basically since, my goodness, we got to go back to 2019 for the last time that Georgia had a 1,000-yard rusher in a single season. Yeah, they haven't needed it. So it's more about, can we have an offense where we throw the ball down the field and people catch it? And we're healthy on the offensive line. We're healthy at defensive back, at running back. I think they're going to be better at wide receiver this year than they were last year, because I think if nothing else, you put those guys on the jugs machine. I often wonder this, and I actually was talking to a Georgia fan about this, dude that went to Georgia. How much of 2019 LSU's offense does Georgia just leave on the table because that's not part of their identity? And by that, I mean, at one point over the course of the year, Joe Brady had told LSU's wide receivers, you will catch 10,000 balls across the calendar year, right? From what we do in winter all the way through playing the season. You'll catch a lot of passes. Some of that is just lining up on the jugs machine and running the route to go catch, right? Or put your hands on the ball, get used to catching it in contested situations. I don't think that that's a part of Georgia's program. I think one of the things that is fascinating about them is how much of the wide receiver room is built on the idea of you might actually need to be the straw stirring the drink this year or in this game. And how much of this is, I know that I'm big. I know that I'm fast. I know that if I put a little bit of good on tape, I'm wearing a Georgia uniform and I can get to the NFL in 3 years. I don't think that it is beneficial for Georgia to change how it is getting down with its offensive play calling, right? I don't expect Mike Bobo to all of a sudden go 70-30 pass to run. However, I do think it is worth pointing out that if they are not one of the worst teams in the SEC in drop passes, and they are not 11 out of 16 in yards per carry at just 406, we're talking about a national championship team. The margins are that thin for this program. And what's scary about Georgia is these are things you can fix. For other programs, you can't fix those things by simply recruiting or developing. You're just going to have that as your weakness and you're going to try to cover it up. And that's what football is about. Football is about identifying your opponent's weakness and exploiting it, identifying your own weakness and trying to compensate for it. Whoever can do that best usually wins. And at this level, every coach knows how to coach for the most part. Not all coaches know clock management, but all of them know the game. So you're not necessarily going to get out coached. There are times when you do, and it does happen. But more often than not, they've got a beater. That's what they got. They have a guy that it doesn't matter that you had the best defensive play call for him. He's just going to win because his Jimmy is better than your Joe. So it's, hey, you want to go and you want to run, you want to roll coverages to one side. We have a guy over here that can beat you. So if you want to take away Zachariah Branch, to use an example at Georgia, we can throw the ball the other way and we'll be just fine. But that guy's got to catch the football. I think Gunnar Stockton is good enough. And one of the things that is also interesting about Gunnar Stockton is he sets all these records as a passer in high school. And I'm really asking myself, is he going to get a chance to get anywhere near those numbers at Georgia? Can he be a 3,000-yard passer? Yeah. Can he be a 4,000-yard passer? Maybe. But I just don't see that being part of the game. If they're healthy on the offensive line, they're getting the push on the offensive line, they're able to run the ball with the kind of authority that they've shown themselves capable of in years past. Again, it's Georgia, right? And the first thing you got to worry about is getting past that defense. And again, Georgia fans, they'll tell you, run the ball, BAWL, and please get out of the defense's way. Don't make this any harder than it has to be. Because the one thing that could happen that hasn't yet is Georgia turns into some Frankenstein version of Iowa 2023, and nobody wants that. I don't think they're going to do that because they're really good at quarterback, right? That's it. Iowa hadn't had a quarterback in years. They had one. Cade McNamara got hurt. I think they got one in Mark Gronowski. But a small tweak here, a small tweak there, and Georgia's once again playing for a national championship. And that could be huge in this year where we're expecting perhaps a changing of the guard. If the Big Ten wins a third national championship without an SEC team in the title game, we're going to have to really start asking questions about which league actually runs this sport.